Welcome everyone to KNIZ radio station 90.1. It serves all of northern New Mexico, and this is the Indigenous Corner. I'd like to welcome everyone. My name is Pablo Martinez. I am the chairman of the Ojo Caliente Restoration Society, OCRS. We are the cultural band of the Chiandé Nation, or the Chiandé Band of New Mexico, the Chiricahua Apache. We are starting this new station, and thanks to our executive producer and our executive director of OCRS and the general manager of this new station, KNIZ, is Knifewing Segura, the president of Native Stars. Knifewing, thank you very much, and for making this opportunity possible for our communities.
Absolutely, Pablo. Yeah, this is really exciting for us, and to have our own station and everything. So I think it's going to we'll be addressing a lot of issues with people. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Well, we are too. I think this is a great opportunity because I think that the Native and Indigenous voices need to be heard throughout our great state. You represent a large constituency, especially in your part of the country, there in Gallup, in the Four Corners area. There's a lot of issues that impact our Indigenous communities throughout the state of New Mexico. You know, the border, we never crossed the border crossed us. And we have a lot of exciting programs that we plan on making this station a very viable station, and a station that will also be involved in promoting cultural and traditional and cultural awareness for our communities. I think that's very important.
Yes.
And I know that at Knifewing that you have promoted a lot of Native Stars and throughout your career there in New Mexico, West Studi, you've played with Waylon Jennings. You've done a lot of great things in your career. You're a outstanding musician, and you also do a lot of benevolent activities there in McKinley County and the Four Corners area.
Yeah, we started off with music, and before that we were just known in, just with our artwork. So I really feel that throughout the years that we've been able to put a lot together. But my band that we went out with, my name is Knifewing and Tribal Jam. We've got the attention of Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and Chris Christopherson at one point. And at the same time, I saw it that was really important for, and this goes back a few years, that Native Stars, when it first started, the talent agency, that there was a couple of things that had entered into the picture. And one of them was that, the proper representation, and also us being, had a need to reach a level of just a level of more professionalism in the business, because we were wanting to see how these other groups got there and what it took, to get there, and to be, in a sense, treated the same way. We've always felt like, in the business, that we were second-class citizens, and but I think over the years, getting the lawyers, getting the proper contracts, and getting it and seeing what other ones, had. And that's where Waylon came in really good. He was very instrumental in getting us started with, with the right representation and everything. So I really appreciated Waylon's input into all of this at that time. And then myself and my group, we did tour with him for a while, and being in his opening act on several stages, and Farm Aid 6 being the largest stage we've ever been on, which was pretty remarkable. That had like 45,000 people in front of us and 55 million TV viewers. After that, I got introduced into the film. I was flown to Russia myself and Floyd Rickrow Westerman, and we portrayed, I portrayed, because he was already a Lakota Sioux warrior, and so it was an Italian production of an American Western filmed in Moscow. So a lot of talks with Floyd, and because Floyd was also with American Indian movement at the time. So we had a lot of discussions about Native Stars, and it was put together. And actually, the one that really was very instrumental in launching Native Stars talent agency was Drew Lacapa, the comedian. Drew had needed a lot of representation at the time. He was very, very popular. And so we had a long discussion. He felt before he even left home that he owed this one tribe, a particular tribe, some money. And he just didn't know how to negotiate at the time. So it's always hard to negotiate for yourself. And next thing you know, we've got over 60 Native top performers on that agency, actors and a lot of bands and speakers, traditional performers. And that's how Native Stars basically was born. And I did see a need for the representation put together. So, that's how it was started. But man, this business, there is so much involved in this business. And when the radio station came along, I thought this would be good because some of the things in this business is, naturally what we call the royalty checks. And when they come around, if our music is to ever make it out there and hits the radio, this is how like some of these big superstars, they get these huge checks and all that. It takes a while to build. And I can remember getting my first check from ASCAP because of my music got scored into this movie. And I was all excited about it. And I stood on my little soapbox at that time. Me and my wife were living in Zuni. And I said, this is here what it's all about, these royalty checks. And it turns out that when ASCAP took its dues out, I only made I think it was less than $1. So over the period of time, though, the more the music got out there and started to play in movies, the checks started to build. So yeah, I was really, really happy to see those checks, get a little higher and get it to rise.
Festival is becoming more successful as the years go by. I think this year, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think you have over 300 films that were submitted, and you're doing even independent films that have come into the Gallup Film Festival this year are related to the UFO series and the Marvel production. Is that a true from the information I heard?
Well, the way it actually goes is that between the two of them, and just even the UFO one alone, we had 315 just on the UFO one alone that was only opened up for 5 or 6 days, and to get that many is pretty extraordinary. The way that we are doing a little work, through OCRS with a few of these organizations, and they're all linked to what they call Epic Entertainment. And one of those guys, the CEO of that company, basically came to our aid. And so that's what we feel pretty excited about. There's a lot more, to come to this story. And I think when it plays out, it's going to be pretty interesting.
And it is getting interesting. I remember when you first started out with this, which was a great concept back when you first came up with the concept of the Gallup Film Festival. And now, last year I was impressed by the over 100 films. Now you're doubling that, and it seems like you're getting and drawing quite a bit of interest from Hollywood and also some possible endeavors that you're going to be engaged in might bring some good economic development in the film industry into New Mexico and that Four Corner areas, it looks like, and actually throughout the entire state.
Oh yeah, I really feel that that's what's going to happen. The Native Stars, it's going to be called the Native Star Studios, and we have in the past have done some recordings. And the youngest technician, which happens to be my son, we've already done recordings with the Navajo Nation involving language preservation, and already behind us has been Star Wars, Finding Nemo with Disney and Pixar, and now we finished up a Fistful of Dollars, and we also did Baby Shark in the Navajo language. So all of those, we had saw the need for language preservation, and the project was very intense. All of them were, to make sure that always making sure that they get what they were looking for, and they were all very, very successful. Every one of these.
Well, I really do admire all of the work that you're doing there, and in the northeastern part of the state. It's great to get more film and more interest in the film industry for New Mexico, because that definitely is an economic drive for our state. In spite of right now that we're in a horrible pandemic. In fact,
Yeah.
we're probably at the worst stage of it, since it's been around now for since March, or since we started enforcing lockdowns and social distancing, and taking all of the precautionary measures to avoid. And New Mexico's been hit hard, like many other states. Per capita, we're pretty. I think that the state is taking an effort to keep people safe, and I know that for a while your part of the area was very critical, very the hot spot. Now my area here in southern New Mexico, Las Cruces, El Paso area, is right now the biggest hot spot probably in the country. El Paso is right now suffering tremendous. They're
Yes.
even the hospitals are beyond capacity. As a matter of fact, they even have they even opened up a community center, or not a community center, but actually the civic center or convention
yeah.
centers, I guess, to make a makeshift hospital. So it's just really, you pray for all these folks. You hope that everybody uses precautionary measures. Don't go out so much. Have one in the family that will take the risk and use all of the precautionary measures. Come back, take your clothes off, and put them in a hamper, and wash your clothes right away. Disinfect yourself and your groceries before you go in. That's probably the best thing. And then the social distancing, that mask, I think, is which is really, I think, preventing a lot of this COVID from spreading.
Oh,
And,
yeah.
And one thing that you're doing, Knifewing, too, that's in Gallup, that's impressive, is I think you all are trying to come up with in the area of the film industry. You all are actually going back to the drive-in movie, which you and I remember those great and glorious years.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't think that now the millennials probably remember, but they're going to get a taste of it. And I think that's probably going to be, our lifestyles are going to be changed as we knew it. Our sanitation and
Oh, yeah.
our precautionary measures, we're going to be changing the way we live. So I think that the drive-in movie industry is going to be a way of life for a long, long time. And it looks like you're going to be expanding that as well. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, one of our partners there, he's been wanting to get into, actually owns a franchise of drive-ins. So, and him and I have been talking about putting one in Gallup. So, yeah, we're going to do one out here. And already, we're already been looking at the land and everything. So that's all. Yeah, just another day at work. It seems like with all of these. To me, it's one heck of a vision and dream come true. As each day goes by, we build closer and closer to what we're going to do. I've always felt that when we did sound, stage, and lighting, that the knowledge needs to go on. For a while there, I took a break away from the music because I wanted to learn more about how the professionals got, that kind of sound. How Waylon and all them had this different sound. When these guys played, it was something different than what the res bands around here. That's what we were known as. And when I heard that sound, I went, man, we don't sound like that. Why don't we have it? And it was just the professionalism. Waylon's group there, his company and everything. I told them basically what I had wanted to do, and naturally they took us under their wings, and it was It was fantastic. We learned pro sound from a good friend, Ray Ryder, that ran a lot of their production. Richie Albright, which was Waylon's producer, and also had produced a number of his gold hits. That he became my producer, with my music, and on the side of learning how pro sound, actually worked, was done with Ray Ryder. Remarkable guy, and putting together our first three-way sound system and showing us how it worked. And then I remember his words of telling me, you're about to begin in the never-ending story. And I said, what does that mean? And so he goes, you tell me in 1 year if you still want to be in this business. I mean, years went by, and we got back together, and I said, hey, you asked me, made a statement to me, and what that meant is that it's a never-ending story of equipment, because you're always striving to get bigger, better, and it's more toys, more equipment, so you can do more production. Everything went from sound, stage, lighting, backline equipment, the front line of the PA system, and then when things become obsolete, it's not no 20, 30, 40 bucks. It's literally in the thousands, and it did wear me out a little bit, but just a little bit, because I still have a way to go in what I want to accomplish, definitely in this lifetime.
Now, back, to KNIZ, this was an opportunity that you saw as executive director for the OCRS, the Ojo Caliente Restoration Society, and now this is an opportunity for, as a nonprofit organization and owning a radio station, that we can develop the
Yes.
community partnerships and the cultural and preservation of heritage. I think cultural awareness and heritage preservation, I think, is critical in our indigenous communities. And some of the projects you just talked about, like that you've been involved in, such as the Navajo language preservation. I know you're going to be working on one soon with some of the Apache languages as well, which I am excited about to see, because I think we need to, the language doesn't belong to any tribe or any one individual. It belongs to the people, and it's important that we preserve it and that we teach it, because it doesn't do us any good for these things to go to our grave and not teach our children, or make an attempt to teach our nephews or extended family members that are willing to learn it. And what's sad is I think in many tribes across the country, there are elders that are holding on and will do anything that they can to try to teach the younger generations the language, but there's just not an interest, or there hasn't been shown an interest. And hopefully that will change, through cultural awareness and pride. It's as Americans, or as citizens of this country, unfortunately, we've always had a idiosyncrasy where you only want to learn English and English only, and of course that mentality has been a so-called a melting pot. But what melting pots do is that they take away the cultural identity from many races, especially indigenous culture, by discouraging our grandparents, our parents, including us, from speaking our native tongue or any other language. Immigrants, Spanish-speaking, New Mexico was probably maybe the only exception. They did have New Mexico did have a Spanish preservation in the Constitution, treated with equal perfection, or perfect equality, I guess is what the word I'm looking for. But the indigenous cultures were not given that option, and unfortunately, our grandparents and folks were sent to boarding schools. They were stripped of that language and discouraged and punished if they spoke, which is terrible, because we should actually be a toss salad as opposed to a melting pot. We should embrace every culture, make it where our children are wanting to learn. Because in Europe and across the world, it's encouraged that you learn more than one language. You become linguist. It makes a person's marketable skills for the job market better. It makes them more worldly and more open-minded, I think, and so I'm glad that Knifewing, you're working on that, on these projects. I know that We are going to be discussing, and you're working on how to develop this station. I know you're going to be reaching out to the community and to the viewers of this station, as well as the listeners, because we are going to go podcasting and doing a lot of great things to educate the community, and having very informative guests coming on this program, I think is going to mesmerize not only the four corner areas, but the entire state of New Mexico, including all the Indian country. I think that's
Oh yeah.
our ultimate goal.
This
And so with that, I think we've talked a little bit about language and cultural. I know that you. What type of music are you going to are you contemplating, Knifewing? In terms, are
well,
you looking at some of the native stars? Are you looking at
yeah.
country western, or what is going to be the genre of the music in this station once we start taking off the station?
Yeah, one thing is, first of all, back on that language preservation, which has really been fascinating. This project doing those movies in the Navajo language, and watch the linguists that came together and talked about. They said that in a circle, they put the student in the middle, or the child in the middle there, and they said, and as a circle goes around, he goes to school, it's in English. He goes to the store, and talks to people, it's in English. He goes to a movie, it's in English. If he reads a newspaper or in books, it's all in English. And so they go, why? So why should he learn the language? And and even though I've watched these linguists when they were talking, they had even said that in some areas, um, the verbiage has different meaning in their area. And in some cases, some of them don't understand each other. And, uh, and then they all came to a conclusion. Is it possible for the Navajo language to disappear? And they all agreed, absolutely, it can. And there's languages disappearing every single day. The unique thing that I've seen in this area up here in Gallup is that the older ones, and that you speak with and talk with, and those ones that went to boarding school, all experience something entirely different. The stories are remarkable. And now all of a sudden, as you know, Paul, we're starting to engage now into movies and everything, and film. Um, so I really think this time it's going to be a little bit different. Instead of doing a lot of Western shoot 'em up, movies and stuff like that, cowboys and Indians, and we're going to be telling the stories that went on around here through the eyes of these people that have actually experienced it. And I'm just thankful and blessed to be part of it. And I think we're going to see a huge change, and the stories that are going to come out are going to be remarkable. There's stories that never been told, great creation stories that, I mean, I really think people would love to see that, other than always seeing the superheroes and, in spandex and all this stuff. Even those are still good movies, but I like to see our native culture come out with their stories, and the place is just filled full of incredible stories. Literally like stepping into another world.
Yes, and I think that those are some great concepts. I know that we've talked about them in the past, and I think what we're trying to do is change the stereotype and the negative image of indigenous people completely. That we're always viewed as villages, or as the people that were wrong, and that harmed the manifest destiny, I guess, if you call the nation, when in fact we were the
Oh
ones
yeah.
that were annihilated, and our culture was basically destroyed. And what little left that we have of it, we're trying to preserve. And I think that's what's critically important. And I think some of the movies that you and your partners are trying to develop, I think, like Navajo Code Talkers, there's a lot of great inspirational things that could be made, of some of our leaders in the Navajo Nation, like Manuelito, even some great World War II and Korean War,
Mhm.
and other Native American cultures, and the Apache culture. I know that our Apache culture is very unique, and the same problem exists.
Yeah.
You know, you have Mescalero that houses the Chiricahua, houses the Lipan, and the Mescalero, and their language is somewhat disappearing. The youngsters aren't really learning it, and they're doing a tremendous effort to try to do outreach, and even as far as paying
Yeah.
folks to learn it. And the
Yeah.
language is a little different from White Mountain or from San Carlos. They can understand each other, but in some cases, some of the Mescalero or some of the Chiricahua, for example, can understand Navajo a little bit better because they enunciate as opposed to San Carlos. But you know, it was all very similar. But you're right, in different regions, people have different words to describe certain situations, and I think by educating the youngsters, and that way that they can keep this thing alive and it can expand, and there'll be more interest, you know. And I know that even languages like Rosetta Stone, they're trying to preserve
Oh, yeah.
the Diné language, and we're trying to preserve the Inde language. So you know, I think with your movies, when you're doing you know, war heroes, those that had complicated lives, those people that set good examples, I think that brings pride to the community, and what you're trying to do, I think, is great. And with some of the people that have shown interest out of Hollywood, has really impressed me. And I
Yeah.
know that with your station, you're going to be developing programming, and with this with KNS, you'll
Right.
be developing probably playing indigenous music, different from
Yeah.
different tribal music. You'll probably be playing maybe even some Spanish. I know that we're throwing around the possibility of even doing a Spanish language segment, and looking at even doing a food network type of programming, and things that have to deal with promoting the culture and preservation. But even
Yes.
with some of the music and entertainment that you'll have during the non programming type, I know that you're going to be working very vigilantly on that, and I know diligently too, because I think you know, you really want to make we all want to make a great impact. And the OCRS board and all of us really supported you in this endeavor, and you made it a
Yeah.
reality. And so we need to get behind you in this effort, and see what we can do with our not only our membership, but our audience that we have, and what they would like to see done in this area, how we can make this station expand and become a viable a program where folks can get news, they can get information, education. You know, we're talking about bringing on guests that you know, that talk about your civil rights, or talk about your legal rights,
Yeah.
or about information on public health, different you know, political or government leaders that can provide services, and advise the public through these public service announcements what the public needs to know, and educate the public through literacy and so forth. So
Right.
you
You
know,
know, when the station, when we first obtained the station, it was 100% classical music, and and it was old classical music, and it had a lot of scratchiness and all of that. So what we did is one of the first things was having to learn the program and learn to how it was formatted. So I carved out about a good 3 hours of that music and started to put in our native performers at our native star talent agency, contacted the performers and all, giving permission to go ahead and use their music. And so I think, you know, one of the things in the long run that we're going to do is, and because there's a lot of things you can do with nonprofit, um, but
mhm.
you know, if we can get it to the point to where uh, these artists can come back, you know, on their royalties and back with ASCAP and CSAC and BMI, we've done a great service for the artists. So, you know, I know that I'm separating both traditional and the contemporary bunch. And so we'll have a lot of traditional music on there as well. That's going to be happening right now. There's a good 4 hours of contemporary music. It's on the station. Everybody from indigenous, Levi Platero, my group, and a whole bunch of the comedians, Williams and Reed. There's Drew LaCappa, Mark Yaffe. So we got it's an incredible blend. People can go to the website and actually hear, download, to stream it right into wherever their office and and hear what's going on. So yeah, I'm really happy about what's going to be happening, and for the artists and also the interviews. I really think will be really great to have one hour or one artist a week or something like that, and we can be talking with them. And now we're talking about what's with legislators and all these people that make a difference. Yeah, I'm going to have a blast. We're going to have a blast with it, Pablo.
I know. So we're looking forward to it because I think it's a good start, and and then as the program grows, I mean, we're talking about even other states like Arizona, where there's other Indian country, throughout the United States where they have issues that they want exposure and support. We'll also be asking our supporters for donations because we are a nonprofit, and
Yeah,
donating to this station will get you a tax deduction because we are a 501c3 organization. So those that want to donate to the art and cultural preservation, this is certainly a good, a well-while program that we can do at the education, and then other projects that we plan on doing too. And I know that even exploring a cooking, talking about different traditional
oh
foods
yeah.
and having those
Mm.
chefs and culinary experts and traditional foods come on, and where people can watch through the podcast, but can also hear
Yes.
some of how these recipes are prepared, and some of the stories that need to be retold so that people won't forget
Yeah.
all that stuff that's out there. But one of the things that we have so many here in New Mexico right now. We're coming up now on this national election here very soon,
Oh yeah.
and there's a lot of uncertainty in the state and among Indian country for that matter, regardless whether you support the present administration or you want change, and
Change.
with many of us, it's just the uncertainty of knowing what's going on. We want to protect our sovereignty. We want to protect tribal sovereignty. We want to protect. We don't want to have our rights being infringed. I know that many of us are against them building a border wall on over sacred land, or our brothers and sisters that live in Totem in
Yes.
Arizona are facing their graves are being desecrated by the government, and I think it's deplorable that you have so many veterans in that tribe and throughout our Native American community and indigenous community have served in the military and have given to this country, and for them to be
Yeah.
treated and our brothers and sisters to be treated with callous disregard and disregard to our ancestors and to our traditional lands and our burial lands is just it's egregious. It's an egregious affront on our communities, and
Hmm.
we have to fight to help our communities out. Chaco, the same thing, protecting the indigenous communities, protecting our water rights, protecting our land so that our children can enjoy it. It's one thing that we can exploit oil or exploit energy, and we need to start looking at green energy. But even the energy jobs, if the energy companies, the oil and gas companies, could work with folks like Dr. Robert Marcus, folks like him that know how to purify water, or how to get things back to normal, how to clean up the environment,
Oh yeah.
that would be great. Because a lot of folks, I hear the argument out there now calling. We have this Native Votes, which I think is a great organization, Knifewing, that hopefully we can have them on the program soon, that talks
Oh
about New
yeah.
Mexico Vote, where these we need to get our community, our indigenous community, to vote. It's very important that's how we change it. Voting. Some people I've talked to, why it makes difference. Wherever you elect, they're still going to screw us. Well, if we have that attitude, we shouldn't complain, because we have a
Yeah.
chance to make a difference by the voting box, and we can't take our votes for granted. They can make a difference.
Yes.
We can make a difference in changing and having them come to us instead of us always having to go to them.
Right.
And this is what we want. And I think we have a lot of issues, you know, in protecting our environment. But even the jobs that we do have where people depend on, we're not asking, we're trying to be realistic about certain things too, where you have folks that depend on these energy jobs. But we would like to see that these energy companies do make the necessary changes to protect their employees, to protect the workers, and also the environment. What you take from Mother Earth, you need to replenish that. So, you know, we're all, I think we are going to have a very interesting talk show, very interesting guest on there. And, you know, those that want to counter, they're welcome to call you and I, and we'll put them on and interview them. We're open to debate, as long as the debate is fruitful, it's meaningful, and it's respectful discourse. We as you and I, we're not going to get into where it becomes disrespectful and it becomes an unproductive discourse. We want to have civil discourse where we can agree to disagree, but we allow everyone to give their position without insulting the person's integrity. And I think that's where our country has gone bad over the last 4 years, is that it's been an affront on personalities. A person has an opinion and they're automatically put down. They're automatically called, told to go back to their country. Don't realize that this is our country. A lot of hate has been fomenting in our country, and it's because people do not respect opinions. I mean, even if we don't agree with opinions, we need to be respectful and respect everybody's view, and in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
So I know, Knifewing, that we have a lot of good in common that all of us are going to work on in this state, in this community, and I look forward, you know, for more programming, and we will be trying to do as a program through our Indigenous Corner, you and I, if we can, at least 5 days to 4 to 5 days a week to start. And but I really am thankful for the audience, and hopefully folks that listen to this broadcast will consider donating and contributing to the ideas that can make it successful. And Knifewing, I think you will make it successful, because you're very whatever you're talented, and whatever you touch, you turn into gold. So we look forward to.
Thank you, but yeah, it's, you know, what I'm about is just a lot of work, and we just hope and pray that it becomes successful. And I already feel the success just because we're doing it and it's happening. So I'm that alone, just to say, you know, a lot of people think about it, but those are the ones that are actually doing it. Yeah, that's a different story. So I feel real blessed that we're able to do this, and thank you, Pablo, too, for making it happen. So really appreciate that.
Well, program Knifewing,
Okay.
we will thank all the listeners, and we look forward to coming back to all of our public and all of our audience with the Indigenous Corner.